Hi, we're going to try to angle this camera in a new way in hopes that people can better see what I'm doing, because I realized that my hand was blocking a lot of what I was talking about. Okay, so we're going to be moving into using some acrylic paints. Acrylics are water-based for wash up. You will need to use a good soap. To do that, I've already shown how to wash your brush, so we're not going to go through that again, but the acrylic paint comes, I like to use golden paints personally, and I do have tube paint in the goldens, but I am using a readily available Master's Touch paint to do these demos that I'm doing, because it is readily available. Sometimes you have to go to an actual art supply store to get the golden paints. All right, so when you're working with acrylics, they're really versatile. You can use them on wood, you can use them on plastic, you can use them on resin, you can paint on glass with certain types of acrylics. They're paper, canvas, clothing, you know, you name it, the acrylic paint can be used for it based on what its chemical composition is. But for the most part, you can intermix your acrylic paints. Then there are all kinds of things you can add to the paint. This is a semi-opaque acrylic texture medium with a satin finish, so it can come in satin finish, it could come in gloss finish, it could come in matte finish, you know, so there's a lot of different ways you can use that. There's a molding paste which makes your acrylic paints thicker. You can get some really interesting textural effects with it. There are gel gloss mediums which help to slow down the drying time and have it work a little more like oil paints. It's just unlimited what you can do with acrylics. They are nice because you aren't going to get some of the problems you might have with oil paintings. You need metal tin to keep your rags in so they don't catch on fire, and you need good ventilation, which acrylics offer you the ability to just pretty much use them any place you might want to. All right, so we've talked about that and their versatility again, and I can't stress this enough. Be sure you wash the brush really well. But this is an example of something that you can do with acrylics. My son really gets into painting models. So we are going to be working today with our cardstock. You can get this at your local big box store. You can get it at office supply stores. You can get it at hobby shops. All right, so we're going to move this guy away so we don't accidentally break him. And we've got our box of Master's Touch, which I'm using it because it's readily available even in small towns like I live in. And I have a color chart, and we've discussed how and why to make color charts, but that way you can look at it and know immediately what you want to do. I know that we are all just guilty of not wanting to practice. We want to be good at something from day one, and we want instant results. And I am sorry to be the one to tell you this, but it's not going to be instant. You're going to get better with time. I suggest that you go ahead and keep a file of some of your early work so that you can see exactly what progress you've made. These are invitation envelopes. As soon as you are able to get to the point where you feel like you'd like to share your work. People are very lonely right now, and getting an actual card in the mail is a wonderful surprise when you go to the mailbox. So the cardstock is excellent for use as to make cards. And so as you practice and you get a little better, you just divide it in half and then fold it, and you've got your cards. So we're going to be doing various designs on the cards, and I'll show you those. But first we're going to practice our brush strokes. And again, we're trying to move this so that hopefully you can see what I'm doing just a little bit better. So we're going to use some of our lighter green, which is actually called light green. All right. Sometimes they have fancy names. I don't use this brand most of the time, so I'm not terribly familiar with what the colors are right now. Some colors are, they make phthalo green, which is what this is, in lots of different brands. Sometimes you'll have a paint that's only made by one company, and they have the exclusive rights to it. But by and large, you're going to have, like, this is titanium white, and titanium white is a really strong white. You can also get a zinc white, which is a more transparent white, but for our purposes, we're going to be using the zinc. And then I'm going to put out some alizarin crimson. Actually, it doesn't say it's alizarin crimson, it's just crimson. All right, and you don't want to put out a whole lot of acrylics at one time, because they tend to dry out really, really quickly. You also don't want to use your good larger watercolor brushes with your acrylic paints, because the thicker bristles, it won't come clean for you. So you'll want to, again, do a good job of cleaning your brushes. So I was practicing some yesterday and showing how to do various types of leaves and other patterns, and then I realized that it was a total waste because no one could actually see what I was doing. So we're going to try again today, and we're going to see if it works better with the camera on the opposite side. All right, so I've got the phthalo green and the light green, and I've double loaded the brush. So I've got my lighter color on one side and my darker color on the other. All right, so then you can practice making commas. And I know none of us likes to practice, okay? But this is learning brush control, okay? And you can flip it over and you can practice doing commas coming from the other direction. And you're very soon going to find that one way works more easily for you than the other, based on, you know, are you perpetually right-handed, whatever. Just that's normal. All right, so I need you to practice that. And you know, if you don't practice, well, you'll just have more failures when you get to the point where you're trying to do something you actually do care about. So, you know, you pay now or you pay later, but you will always pay. So, you know, just bearing that in mind. All right, so all we're doing here is kind of making an L. We're starting on the tips, press down, and then come back up again. All right, and then go in the opposite direction. So I guess this time you'd be, well, that's too much of an S. So while you might think S, you don't need to necessarily act on it. All right, so up on the tip, start, push, and come back and down. If it's easier for you to think in terms of seaweed or grass or whatever, that's fine too. Whatever you want to put into your mind for how you want to, what you're trying to do. All right, so then you need to practice making straight lines, the same width all the way down. Okay, again, if you're like most of us, you're going to find that to be incredibly boring. However, you can make it a little more fun by making your straight lines, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if you come back and you practice your commas, there's your comma, and do practice this with various brushes. Okay, practice your straight lines with your liner brush, practice your straight lines with different widths of flat brushes, but a way to practice them so that it's not so boring is to go ahead and pretend that, or go ahead and make bamboo. Keep your brushes wet so they don't dry out. And I've now lost track of which side is my dark side and which side is my light side. So the best thing to do in that situation is just to go ahead and rinse the brush and get fresh paint. It's better to test it and find out you don't have it right than to ruin something you've worked on for quite a while. All right, so then we're going to work on doing leaves, and we're going to let the lighter side be on the outer edge. So we're going to start up on the tip and then push down into it and then lift off. And you probably are going to find that it's easier for you to just flip the paper over and come back and meet that edge. You don't have to make leaves this way, but to me it's a lot faster. So then just keep on practicing that a few times with more and less paint. Learn what your tools can do for you. It'll be real helpful. You can practice, you see that one where I kind of curved in a little bit. You can also deliberately do that. You can deliberately shake up the edge, okay? And come back and touch it up if you need to, or wait until the end. When you come back and you add with your liner brush the attaching, the veins, whatever you might want to call it, okay? So again, just play with it, have fun with it, learn about it. If you do a really, really narrow up on the tip, narrow and long, and you come back and you meet it on the other side. And I kind of like having left the clear space in the center. I don't really mind that end. I've gone over it a couple of times because I missed a little bit, but it would have been better had I been a little more in control. But it's harder to work and talk than you might think. You can also just do a half leaf or come back and add in the full leaf. It's totally up to you. You're the artist. I really cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to play with your tools, learn what they are, learn what they can do. I like to use this and make holly. So just by playing with the thing. You can get holly, you know, add the berries, whatever. There are other kinds of leaves that you can learn to make, and we'll do that over time. If you wanted to make grass look more like grass, start out up on the tip, push down, pull, and then if you want, you can come back and do a little edge on it, and it looks like the leaf is turning, or the grass is the blade of grass is turning. Again, play and learn how your equipment works. You will not regret knowing how, if I hold my brush like this and I go like this, that's what happens. If I do whatever, this or that's going to happen. I want to show you something really kind of cool that you can do even with this little thin liner brush. If you manipulate it properly, you can make a great big comma with that. You can also make little bitty commas. You can make dots. You can do a butterfly. You press down, you flip up, and I might have flipped that a little further than I might have wanted to, but I really wanted you to see what I was talking about. So you can flip it up on both ends, and then take and mix a little bit of your dark green and a little bit of your red, and get a little black. And with acrylics, you can go right over it, even when it's wet, and it won't move around or blend very much. And before you know it, you've got a little butterfly. I really want you to relax, enjoy, and learn. We'll go into doing some other designs and ways to hold the brush, but it's very important that you just play and relax. So hope that was helpful. Have a great day.